A talk on what Foundups are. Foundups are not startups. Startups is a business model invented in Silicon Valley for the benefit of few that launches centralized, closed corporations. And every crisis facing our planet can be traced back to innovation that was launched as a startup. So basically, if you're supporting startups, you're supporting a model, an insane model, that's built on something called compounded annual growth rate, which is what the VCs and these investors look at in order to invest in. Well, the startup is basically an insane model because we live on a finite planet with specific amount of resources. So it can't support the idea of infinite growth. And that's what the startup basically is looking for. So in 2004, I moved to Japan because I was disillusioned with America. And ultimately, over the next 4 to 6 years, I was starting to think about and realize, that our planet is in a crisis. It's an insurmountable crisis, which means it is so messed up that very few people can actually perceive it. It's insurmountable. It cannot be defined. We do know this, that, for example, 50% of our coral reefs are now gone. And we do know that these reefs support something in excess of 70% of the biodiversity in our oceans. So you could say we have lost a massive amount of biodiversity, and they're continuing to crash. We know that over 95% now of the large fish species, and many of them are practically on the verge of extinction, have been overfished. All of these massive investments, right, come from startups, come from our closed business model. You see, our closed business model is insane. So what I realized in 2010 is that we need to change this business model. And the only way to change this business model is to do it ourselves and to launch something I call Foundups, where decentralized business models that we do ourselves. You see, between you and me and the other, 6 billion people who have access to the internet and online and stuff like that, we have it within our means to disrupt this closed system and to launch an open system. And I'm pioneering the first open corporation. And I have many talks on it, but basically my solution is stupid simple. All right, we launch Foundups. Foundups are selfless, not selfish. They're for the people, by the people. So I'm not launching Foundups for me, per se. I'm launching Foundups for you, for other people, for my sons, for my community, for the people around me. They're selfless, unlike the startup, which is selfish. And ultimately what we can do is incentivize people launching Foundups by saying this, is that if you'll launch a Foundup, I'll support you. And not only that, I will share what I make in launching my Foundups in helping to support your Foundups. What happens is we create what's known as an exponential growth function for launching Foundups, that within 10 years will replace this naughty, nasty, insane startup. So we can save the planet by launching Foundups. We can't save the planet by investing in startups. We can't save the planet by investing in NGOs and NPOs and all these other initiatives, because they've had 60 years to save the planet and they haven't. Everything is worse. You have to understand that our entire business model is based on an insane model. A model that you could say is endemically flawed. So we have to usher in a new model. We have to change this model. And the only way to do that is Foundups. So help me save our planet by helping me launch and scale up the various different tools that we need to launch Foundups. So I can actually launch Foundups, and you can start launching Foundups on Patreon. Patreon is a never-ending crowdfunding solution. That was the first thing I needed, and that didn't happen until 2014, and something I talked about back in 2010. Now that we have never-ending crowdfunding, what it means is we can launch our Foundups, we can grow our Foundups, we can basically what's called scale them up, and we can invest in other Foundups. And then what will happen is once we get enough capital, and we already have developers starting to code, we've got something called FX that's going to come out, we're going to have something that's going to run on Ethereum and some other made safe and some other open frameworks. All of this takes money. It takes money to hire developers. It takes money to, for me to travel and to present to investors or to share the idea with greater audience. So you can help for as little as $1. That's it. I don't need a lot of money. I just need patrons. Patrons will bring other patrons. So I don't need big investments, even though I do have one of our stakeholders is from Cambodia. Consider that. Cambodia and India are my top investors in Foundups because they come from communities where they see the plight of our planet. They really do. And they understand that we are royally screwed as a species. And no one, absolutely no one has a solution except Michael Trout, that's me, with Foundups. And I would love to debate anyone who can try to tell me that my solution won't work. Because the funny thing is since I've been talking about the solution, no one, absolutely no one, has stood up and says, your solution won't work. Your solution is insane. And this is how simple my solution is. Foundups are launched by you and me. They scale up. So a garden can become a farm. That's what scaling up means. We can launch other Foundups. So a garden, we can launch another Foundups, which is a small little chicken farm to provide eggs for me. So I don't have to go and burden the industrial egg complex. Well, again, that little chicken farm or that little chicken, what is it called? What is it where chickens live in? Roost has 4 chickens, and it can scale up to having 20 chickens. And that, guess what? Now I have eggs for my entire neighborhood block. You understand? Foundups scale up. Foundups are getting people off the grid because every person we remove from the grid helps our planet. So if what you do is good for the planet, then it's a Foundup. Now, what Foundups that level up, some of them, very few of them, probably less than 1%, will become Facebooks and Googles and these massive, like Whole Foods, or, the person behind it just needed capital to make it happen. He's a visionary, he's an innovator like me, but just lacked capital. And teams coalesce around this idea, coalesce around this leader, and ultimately we have what's known as a Foundup that launches as an open corporation. Now, open corporations are super cool. Number one is open corporations are mandated where they cannot support lobbyists, they cannot support political campaigning, they are not entities in regards to, they don't have the same rights as you and I. They're entities in regards to legal status. And the cool thing about open corps is an open corp can be an LLC, it can be a C corp, it can be a S corp, it can be any corp. See, what makes an open corp are the bylaws. And ultimately, when we have our platform on Play Ethereum called Play Foundups, right, it will allow all of this to be taken care of very simply by checking boxes on how you want things to work and everything else. And just by checking boxes and doing this and doing that, it will populate your articles when you get there. It will set those articles. Now, here's a really cool thing about open corps is they're mandated to reinvest 80% of their net profits, and anyone who made money off them, the capital gains, must be reinvest, launching more Foundups, scaling up existing Foundups, this could be your Foundups, or supporting other Foundups, which is going to be done automatically. And this is really cool. So imagine this, by you doing Foundups, you get patrons. Patrons actually give you $1 or $2 or $5 or $7. I have one giving $500 because he believes in Foundups that much. KP, love you, love you. He won't always give $500, but he's trying to help give me traction, and he's willing to make that investment to try to encourage others. So consider giving $1 to say, you know what, KP, you're right. But here's what's really cool. Let's get back on subject. What happens is I have $600 a month coming in to Foundups. Now, I'm going to share 80% of the funds that are coming in with others launching Foundups. Now, on Patreon, I have to do it manually. But when we launch Foundups.com, this will just be part of the platform. So we will have an ability for people to basically call people out. So if you just say, hey, I'm doing a Foundups, and now you're just getting money coming into it, there may be a holding period and other things. I know, for example, you have to launch a Foundup. So you have to raise $25 and do a thing and show videos and people like. And we've got something called FX, Foundups Extension, that's going to help to basically provide the valuation, validation, and referral. It's a referral engine that's going to drive this cool little part. So I'm a hacker in regards, so I'm a beta tester. I've played 15 years of games. I know how to hack systems and exploit systems and everything else. So as I'm building Foundups, I'm making sure that I'm always thinking about how is this going to get hacked? How are people going to exploit this? And how am I going to stop this? That's why we're going to run something called closed alphas and closed betas, which are basically open to only our patrons. Also, our patrons get access to all the development docs and everything else because you're part of the family. You also can join Foundups Corporation. Imagine that. Imagine if you bought a Coca-Cola, Coke, you could join Coca-Cola Corporation. Or imagine by simply buying an ad on Facebook. Now, guess what? You get shares in Facebook. Guess what? For every patron, you're getting equity. Anytime someone buys something from an open corporation, they get equity in that thing. Imagine that. Doesn't that make sense? I'm a stakeholder. I should have equity. I should have voting rights in that thing. I'm supporting it. You see, in the future, all corporations are going to be open corporations, selfless. And in doing so, what's going to happen is we're going to retake our government. Why? Because the moment we cut the fueling, the way for these politicians and government to get their money, the way we end their control. So we take back our liberty and our freedom. You see, Foundups is really a simple idea. It starts in your garden and it changes the world. Imagine it like this. Imagine we're all little what are they called? That make not ants. Oh gosh, my brain is what are they called? They make the big mounds in Australia. Gosh, I had to sit here. I had to pause the video because I couldn't think of termites. All right, so termites, right? So termites. Think of our planet as a termite mound that is rotten, that is falling apart. You know, and to kind of put things into perspective, you know, consider this, that 90% or over 90% of our large fish species, a lot of them are now on the verge of extinction, like tuna and other things that we enjoy. We have overfished our oceans. 50% of our coral reefs now are gone, and these reefs, you know, support over 70% of our biodiversity in the ocean. They're gone. 50% are gone. You can't go anywhere in the ocean without seeing our impact on the ocean. You know, 40% of our ocean has this plastic sludge, and 1/3 of our fish consume it. That ends up on our, you know, that we catch, consume it. That ends up on our meal. So we're basically shitting in our kitchen, right? I'm just put it, we're shitting in our kitchen. And, you know, we've got the exponential growth of CO2 emissions. And we have the exponential growth of everything that's causing that. We have an exponential growth now in the melting of our solar caps. When I say exponential growth, that's, you know, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 6, 6. You understand? So we're going to hit a tipping point where, boom, it's just all going to melt one day because we're going to get that hot. We're going to hit that tipping point where we're just going to lose all of this biodiversity. Just going to happen very quickly. And you can watch this video by David Suzuki where he talks about the exponential growth problem. The thing is you won't be able to see it until the last minute, because that's how the exponential growth works. As he explains, you can watch this. So help me save our planet with Foundups by becoming a patron for as little as $1. And together, let's try, at least try, to save the planet.